Hi, I'm Colin Davin, here for Tonebase with a lesson on Fernando Sor's study Opus 6, number 3, which is Segovia study number 11. This is pretty clearly an exercise in slurs, and specifically in slurring three notes together. There's also a fair bit of left-hand hopping up and down the fretboard, so we'll want to make sure that we're very precise in those maneuvers so that we're nicely set up for the rapid three-note slurs we'll be playing. Before we get into the substance of the etude itself, I'd like to just go through a few exercises to work on the fundamentals of slurs. And we will use three exercises from Segovia himself, from a brochure of slur exercises that he published. And they're pretty simple in a way, but we're going to talk about some specific things within the technique of slurring using these relatively simple exercises. So the first of these will be simply 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then since the fourth finger is weak, we'll give it some extra practice. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. You can think of this in 3/4 time. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. We'll take that up a fret at a time until we reach the 12th fret, at which point we'll play the pattern in reverse. 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. So just give you a little demonstration of that. You can play this on any string. We'll choose the second for now. And so on until we reach the 12th fret. Once you're at the 12th fret, we'll go in reverse 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. And so on until you reach the first fret again. One of the risks in slurring on guitar is that we tend to overcompensate the first note of a slur. And that's a problem that's inherent to the guitar because as soon as you play a note on the guitar, the sound begins to decay. This is a problem that we have that, for example, is not shared by a bowed string player or a winds player or a singer, where they can sustain seamlessly through several notes without any decay in the sounds. The result of this trap for guitarists is often actually just a greater imbalance in the slur. I've found that plucking the first note with more force doesn't really help the sound of the slur. It just makes the first half of it louder. I'll show you what I mean. If I were to take just a simple 1-2 slur in fifth position, plucking it normally, it's kind of even sounding. There's more sound in the E than the F, but it's close. Now if I pluck it harder, let's do a big rest stroke. The E's a lot louder and the F's about the same. This is generally not the desired effect in slurs in a piece, and it can really throw the rhythmic nature out of whack. So in this exercise, I like to employ a light touch in the right hands, using just a light free stroke and the fingering AMI on a loop. That keeps it in 3/4 time nicely as well. Instead, focusing on the precision and energy of the ascending slur itself, getting a nice clear sound on the second half of those slurs rather than on the plucked note. The second exercise we'll look at is also fairly simple. The pattern is going to be 1-3-2-4 and then descending 4-2, 3-1, slurring 2 notes together at a time. This one you can think of in 2-4 or 4-4 time. We'll play through the pattern twice before moving up by a fret. And so on until the 12th fret. When we reach the 12th fret, we'll play descending. And so on down to the 1st fret. This particular pattern is really useful to work on the concept of energy transfer, of essentially taking the energy used to play a note and feeling it pass off to a different finger, so that you won't be holding on to that tension or energy exertion in the finger that's no longer in use. So what I mean by that, if we take a 1-3 slur, let's again use 5th position as our example. You can see one has lifted off of the string very lightly, and I felt the strength from the 1st finger move over into the 3rd finger, and now the rest of the hand is empty, nice and relaxed. Then even though there's no slur 3-2, I would release 3 into 2, like that, and then 2 passes off to 4. 1, 2, and 3 are all fairly relaxed, not anticipating the next move, nor holding on to the previous obligation. Slightly exaggerated motion there, but you'll relax that just a bit. It's something that's much easier felt in the muscles of the hands than it is actually seen. The descending version of this exercise presents some different challenges, and here we can really think about a sense of a plucking motion in the left hand, as though the descending slur is actually plucking the string. So I'm slurring sort of down into the fretboard a bit, and then again immediately releasing that work as soon as it's done, rather than just lifting straight off the string, which generally won't produce enough sound. You can barely hear the second note of that slur. So with that plucking motion, we get a bit more clarity to the sounds. Again, I'm thinking about the energy transfer idea. Passing off to 2, then 2 passes to 3, passes to 1, 2, 3, and 4, all relaxed while they're not in use. Finally, we'll look at one more exercise from Segovia's slur exercises. This one is probably the most relevant to the Sor etude that we'll be working on, in that it slurs together 3 notes at a time. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Then descending 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this one on the 3rd string just for a little variety. Again, 2 cycles, then moving up by a fret, and so on until we get to the 12th fret. At which point we'll descend. This exercise presents an even greater risk for inefficiency of motion in both hands because we need to sustain the slur through 3 notes rather than just through 2. But you'll notice in the ascending slurs that my fingers are not particularly far off the fretboard, maybe a half a centimeter away from the string at most, and it's just a nice efficient burst of energy into the string, and then releasing the energy once I'm done with the fingers that are no longer active. Descending will be a little different in that the unused fingers tends to fly off just a bit. So we're going to use a little bit of a adaptation of the concept of rest stroke, but apply it to the left hand. So when you play the descending slur, rest the finger into the adjacent string, just as you would with a right hand rest stroke. That's going to keep the hand a little more in place. Now, it's not gripping anything tightly, it's not fretting the next string, certainly, but it's just going to rest in place there. Again, relaxing as soon as it's done producing the sounds.